You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. There was nobody closer on the LSU staff to Bryce Underwood than Joe Sloan. Sloan had basically taken up residence in Michigan as many times as he went to go see Bryce Underwood. They were close. Sloan was a major part of Underwood being committed to LSU for nearly a year. Well, when Joe Sloan met with reporters on Tuesday, it was the first time we've spoken to Joe since the whole Underwood thing went down, publicly anyway, on the record. Usually we'll get to talk to Joe at this point in spring and then once in fall camp as well. And Joe was asked if the Underwood flip is going to change the way they recruit the quarterback position, understanding you had so many resources invested into that player only to have the rug pulled out from underneath you 2 weeks before signing day.
Things happen, right? Things happen in college football, and you do what's best for the program. You make the decisions that are best for the program, and you rock and roll forward. We couldn't be more excited how everything worked out. I think Michael's done an excellent job. We may not have been in the same situation if that was the case, right? I think I couldn't be more excited about the future of the offense. So in terms of, recruiting, I think just in today's world of recruiting, every day's a new day. You just keep attacking that day. It's still all about relationships. You got to go with those first. Obviously, there's some external factors, but we can't worry about the things we can't control. We just got to continue to recruit to the best of our ability with our relationships, talking about LSU, talking about Coach Kelly's program, talking about the tradition of this place, and that's why you continually see excellent players committing to LSU.
I think two things can be true at the same time, but you heard a half truth there. When he said we couldn't be more excited about the way it worked out. Okay. Ain't nobody excited that Bryce Underwood's playing for Michigan right now. Okay? Nobody. All the resources that you invested into recruiting him, he had been committed for a year. Not only was he the top quarterback in the class, but he's one of those guys that everybody unanimously agrees is one of those, I don't want to use the term generational players because I think that's a bit overused, but the clear-cut, no doubt, number one player, best player in the last handful of years, have a decade or so to come out. He's on par with the Arch and the Trevor Lawrence and the ones that are like clear-cut, five-star plus, no doubt, number one guy. And you had that dude committed, and he flipped. Like, you're not excited about the way that worked out. But I mentioned two things can be true. You can be disappointed with the way that happened, but you can also be excited about Michael Van Buren. And what you did was you went and made the best out of a really crappy situation. When you lost Underwood and then you had Ricky Collins and A.J. Swan transfer out of the program, you went and got a young guy that started 9 games in the SEC a year ago that you could see some real growth and developmental potential in Michael Van Buren. And here was Sloan talking about Van Buren on Tuesday.
Mike obviously played extremely well, did a lot of great things at Mississippi State last year. So when we had the opportunity to add him to our roster, we couldn't have been more excited. When he gets comfortable, when you've really seen it, we've seen it a lot this spring, his comfortability in the pocket is exceptional. I mean, it is exceptional. And I think that's a really huge talent for him. And then he can drive the football now. He can touch every piece of the field with his arm. I've really liked his growth. Some of the things that we do, he hasn't necessarily done, but he's a quick learner. Once he does it once and as he feels it, he's been able to make the adjustments and make the growth. I think both Tim Rattay and Trey Holtz and some of the different things they've been able to do. And that's a great part when you have great coaches. We're able to kind of split off and really focus on what the individual guys need. And I think that's helped Mike a ton.
He's only a little more than halfway through his first spring in Baton Rouge. So you are talking about a guy that is still learning this offense. So I'm not surprised to hear him say, he's learning, of course, but the other thing you mentioned there, you forget, is the Tim Rattay piece of it as well. You got a former NFL quarterback on staff now as an analyst in Tim Rattay who can work on the field with the quarterback. So he mentioned there's times where Rattay may take Van Buren and go work with him individually, which is an immense help as a guy like that continues to grow into himself. And then there's the Juwan Johnson piece. And I asked Joe Sloan about Juwan and the decision to move from running, but well, I mean, he was a cornerback and then the star, and then he was a running back and he was a quarterback. And Joe made it certain that this was something Juwan Johnson asked to do.
Juwan wanted to come back to quarterback. I couldn't be more excited to have him. You know, he's obviously a different style of quarterback than maybe the other two guys. You're going to have to respect his feet. And, you know, just working through him, I think you've seen his growth from a passing standpoint. He throws a good ball, but in terms of his read progressions and doing the things he needs to do, and then, you know, just his footwork and commanding the huddle, I think he has great leadership skills. And obviously he's been electric with the ball in his hand. Made a couple big plays when we've been in live tackle situations. So I think he's been excited. He's been fun to coach. He's attentive, and he's getting after it.
It's going to be really hard for me. I'm editorializing completely here. It's going to be really hard for me to imagine Juwan Johnson sticking at quarterback for his entire LSU career. Again, I am editorializing. I'm not telling you something I know. Now, a lot of people have asked about Colin Hurley. It's my understanding that they do anticipate Colin Hurley coming back. I know that's kind of been a big question, which is, I mean, he had this car wreck. From what I understand, Colin Hurley is recovering great. Like physically, he's doing very well, which is great to see. I mean, if you saw the photos of the car crash, it's jarring, right? But he's back home in Jacksonville, recovering very well, and they do expect him back. Certainly not in spring practice here, but they do expect Colin Hurley to be back with the team. So with that being the case, you'd look at Nussmeier and Michael Van Buren and Colin Hurley, and probably then Juwan Johnson, right? So it's hard to imagine how this may play out to where Juwan ends up playing quarterback at LSU, but maybe what it is happens to be that he carves a niche as a change of pace guy where you can have a package for him at the quarterback position, and someone who has ability to throw the football needs to learn how to function within this offense. You're Joe Sloan slate. Like, he throws a pretty ball. It's just he's got to make the reads and the progression and learn all that at the college level. So it's a lot of ground he has to make up. But how they use Juwan Johnson will be interesting because he's far too dynamic a player. I mean, they moved him to running back, and in the first collegiate game he played at running back, he scored a touchdown. I mean, he's Louisiana's all-time touchdown and passing yardage leader in high school history in the state. I mean, it's jaw-dropping, the numbers he put up at LCA. So he's very capable, and he's dynamic with the ball. You got to find a way to use him, and that really is the onus on Joe Sloan in this offense here, to find a way to get all these different weapons involved. But you'd rather have a lot of them than not a lot of them, and they got a lot of them in this year. Interesting hearing Joe Sloan talk a little bit about the quarterback position. And, of course, you got Garrett Nussmeier at the front of it. I'm back for a fifth year, and Joe Sloan's now been with Garrett for 4 years. You know, so from 22 all the way here through 25, I mean, 4 years together. They speak the same language as a position coach there with Joe Sloan, and now second year as an offensive coordinator. Those two should have a great synergy together here in 2025. And that relationship is something that's a big part, I think, of LSU's success that we're all anticipating this coming season. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.